Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello, Jose.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
You know, I just think every time I lean into the microphone in the beginning, it always makes me think of that SNL skit with Sherry O'Terry and what's her name?
I can't remember.
Yeah, they're like, we're coming straight to you from Seattle. I hope you're having a good day, and I heard it's raining out there. Did you hear
Good times. Good times, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad weather.
It's always like sexual innuendos. Like,
Yeah, but it does. It reminds me of it too, and I love it because they have such great voices on there.
Yeah.
So it's a great skit. Yeah. So you know what I was thinking about the other day? I was driving, and I was on 30, and I passed Hurricane Harbor, and it got me thinking of water parks.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to water parks?
No.
You gotta think about that. Why do we think about that so hard?
Because like Six Flags over Texas has some water rides, and for a moment I thought
now
that
you want
was
to start up another debate. I said water park, but so you're saying
I'm
it's
sorry.
in
I just was thinking
because I was thinking, okay, I see where you're going with it.
Yeah,
because they do have water rides. Yeah,
yeah.
Somewhere where you get
wet. Yeah. What
going?
About the Hurricane Harbor?
It just got me to thinking of water parks and how awesome the water parks are.
How often did you go with your kids? Or you mean just alone?
No. I would go with my kids. I would go, but it's great. Like they have different rides and all the kids. Now again, it can get nasty in there because one thing that you have a lot of is the sunscreen. So you see like a film over the water everywhere you go because all the kids are all lathered up. But I mean, that's part of the experience.
Yeah.
And the food is horrible. But, you know, and I've been to a couple of different ones. There's like Hurricane Harbor, and then there's like Hawaiian Falls and the Wolf Lodge. That's another one. Like they have a lot of them. I've been to all three of those.
Which one's the best?
Honestly, I like Hawaiian Falls.
And what is it about Hawaiian Falls
because they let you bring in some of your own food, for one thing.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's more family friendly?
Yeah, and it's a little more laid back. They have a lazy river like everything else, but like their rides aren't like super duper, like they're taking you up to the top and like flinging you
It's
off
not for like risk takers.
Right. It's just more laid back and maybe even like the little kiddos and stuff. So I went there one time and there was this lady, because I was dating a woman and we went there together, and she said, look over there. And I looked and there was this lady, and she was an older lady. And her skin looked like it was like leather, cowhide leather. And she's like, that lady is out here every weekend. She is here just doing that, sunbathing. That's
all. Living her best life.
That's all she's doing. But I mean, I'd never seen skin of that tone before, ever in my life. And I'm not, so it was just weird because I was like, it can't be healthy for you.
How old do you think she was?
If I had to guess, I would say in her 60s.
Okay.
I would say. But
it's not good for your health.
It can't be good, right?
No.
Isn't it bad for your skin?
Why doesn't she?
I don't know, but she, and I was like, she's out here every weekend. She's like, yeah, every weekend she's out here. And what was funny is that she would get annoyed by the little kids.
Yeah, dude, I can relate sometimes.
Because the kids, but they're kids, they're splashing, and it's a water park.
But still, sometimes you're like sometimes if I go to like my pool and there's like a lot of
that
kids.
Old lady when you get older, aren't you? You're gonna
maybe
sunbathing out there, getting mad at the little kiddos.
Yeah, get off my porch. I don't know, but yeah, like when I go out to my pool and there's like a bunch of kids, it's like, oh, man. Like, because they're so loud and they're screaming and they're running, and then the parents are yelling at them and they have all they're splashing. And again, you know how I feel about getting water in my mouth from the pool.
Yeah.
So
let's not revisit.
Yeah.
But we agree it's gross. And
yes.
I agree with you. It's gross
yes.
too. It happens. What are you going to do? It's all part of the experience.
I could still be annoyed by it though.
I guess you could. Yeah. That's part of the experience too.
Yeah, that's true.
But I like water parks. But yeah, so today we're going to freestyle it. Right? So we have the famous hat here, the dope hat.
That's right.
And so we have a few topics in there, and then you're going to draw from the hat. And whatever topic comes up, we're just going to ad lib.
We're just going to roll with it.
Just going to roll with it.
We let fate decide from time to time.
From time to time, yeah.
I think it's worked out okay for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And so these are all my topics. So I do have notes on those, right? Because you might not understand what it was. The meaning
I have
of
never
them.
seen these topics before.
So the way I did it was when I wrote it out, I thought of the topic, and then I figured I would fill you in on what my thought process was at the time when I wrote the phrase.
Let's get into Jose's mind.
Yeah. So I do have notes on all of them. So depending on the one you pick, I'll kind of give you context and like where I was thinking.
Okay.
The conversation can go, and then we'll see where it goes. So, all right. So
here we go.
Time to pick out.
It says ghost or no ghost.
Ghost or no ghost.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, I wasn't speaking. So what does that mean? Oh, give me a second. Let me see. With the obvious, right?
Like, should you or not?
Yeah. So give me a second here. So yeah. So the purpose of this, right? Initially, what I was thinking is, okay, so let me paint you a scenario. So let's just say that you go out with somebody, right? And it's your first date. Maybe you've been messaging a little bit back and forth. And then you're like, okay, let's go have a date. And then you have the date, and there just was no sparks.
Okay.
Just a total. He was nice.
He was fine.
Right? Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with him. He wasn't weird or anything. He seemed decent, but like no sparks, really nothing. And I mean, you're kind of casually dating, but it really worked. So like, do you really want to start something? Because it's not bad. Anyways, the point being, you have doubts. So you go home, and let's say you message each other one time, but now you kind of know you don't want to pursue it.
Yeah.
So do you ghost them or do you not ghost them?
Can I tell you my experience with ghosting? I remember when I first started like dating apps, I had never been ghosted or rejected before. I didn't really understand why someone would chat with you for several days and then you just never hear. I didn't understand it. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
At least just say, I'm going to pursue someone else, or I don't think we hit it off, or just say something. I didn't understand it.
And when I wrote it at the time, I was thinking to myself, does this really still happen? Because I can see scenarios in which maybe ghosting might be appropriate because it's one thing if neither one of you text each other back.
Yeah. Is that like a double ghost? What do you call that?
It might be. Or you sometimes.
I just came up with a new slang.
You double ghost.
I'm trademarking it here.
We double ghosted each other.
With the R for Robbie registered.
There you go.
Yeah.
But no, you know what I'm saying? So like maybe they both felt like they didn't have sparks. Or sometimes the games that we play is we're waiting for the other one to make the first move. You know what I mean? And nowadays technology is a lot different. So like, and I've heard young people say this because I don't do this, but let's say they're on their Instagram and stuff. So you know that they have their phone.
Yeah.
So if you message them or whatever.
It's not like back when we were growing up. It's like, well, maybe she's not home yet. She didn't listen to the recorder.
Exactly. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. Or she might not even know that you're trying to get a hold of her.
I was just thinking, how many times do you think it's happened where both people, their pride was too much for them to text each other, and they just both thought,
they were playing chicken and they both lost.
Yeah,
basically.
And maybe forever you never knew that that's not what it was. They did like you.
Yeah, their ego. That's ego talking right there, man.
I know, but it's crazy to think about that
because
you could be like, "Oh, we double ghosted" or whatever, but really, one of them really wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, but you're right, because sometimes we will create these arbitrary rules for ourselves in dating. Where like, you know, the 3-date rule. Like, and I've heard this one before too. And actually, weirdly enough, sometimes it's actually pretty good. But you give people or a person at least 3 dates. Now, you might know on the first date, it's not going to work. And even on the second date, you might know.
Yeah.
So let's just not say that it's a hard rule. It has to be 3.
Yeah.
Although I would venture to say there are people that have hard stances on those type of rules that they set on themselves. Like, maybe they have a rule of not kissing on the first date. Yeah. Like that's a rule. I don't kiss on the first date. They're arbitrary, but they're still rules that one said. So you're right. If they're like, I'm not ever going to initiate it after the date, that's my rule.
Yeah. I usually do 2 dates. 2 dates I know.
Yeah.
But like
whether or not you want a third.
Well, I'm just saying like I wouldn't I don't think I've ever rejected someone on the first date. If they're okay,
I see what you're saying.
I always at least give you another chance. And I mean, it's the same thing, but I'm at least 2 dates. Like I have to.
Yeah. So then what you're saying is that if you weren't feeling it, you would send them a, hey, it was nice meeting you. but
I have done that.
Have you really?
Yeah.
And like, what does one say to somebody else? Like, do you guys go gentle and lie and be like, I'm not in a position to date right now? Which is weird because we just went out on a date.
No, I'm not going to lie. But I have said before, like, I think you're really nice, but I don't see this moving forward.
Really? That's classy.
Is it?
Yeah, that's classy.
Well, I just don't like to do it. It makes me feel bad.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's classy. Because I was thinking, I was coming up with like, hey, it's not going to work.
Oh.
I wouldn't know what to say. I mean, I don't think I've ever, I have, but it was after they asked me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But here's the problem that I've come across with men, though. They don't take that very well. So what they'll do is they'll continue to like beg.
They don't take that? Because that's about as gentle as you can let a dude down.
But every time I've done that, they always are like, well, come on. Like, can you just please give it a chance?
One more time. Come on.
Stop.
Just one, please. One little bitty one. I don't even want a big one. I just want a little bit of a chance.
But it makes it harder because
isn't that how women want to be wooed? Is I would imagine.
No, if we don't like you, no. If I like you, if I was playing some game, maybe.
Begging doesn't work.
It's
all right, guys. You heard it here first. Begging does not work.
It's just I already feel horrible. Mm-hmm. On top of that, you're acting like that, which is making me feel even more terrible.
I got you.
Because I know it's hurting your feelings, but you're making it like so extreme. Like, who cares? Like, just move on.
Yeah, and you're right. I've had that happen to me before too, where I let somebody down and then she asked why. And I'm like, I don't really want to do this.
Well, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So sometimes I can see where, I don't want to call it cowardness, but just avoiding that whole conversation.
Right. If a guy sends me a text and says the same thing he has, like, hey, like, I don't think there's anything here. I just won't respond. I don't need to say anything else.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Right. But then that's a form of ghosting.
Oh, I guess it is. Is that the reverse ghost?
No, that's the unintentional ghost.
Okay. Unintentional
or
ghost.
I didn't ghost you, but now I am ghost.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, why would I? I'm not going to be like, okay, would I give you a thumbs up emoji?
No, but ghosting implies that you're not replying
like,
to the
I don't like you.
Right. Because the ghosting is basically you don't communicate with them at all. But I guess also if they ask you a question and you just never reply, now you're going to leave this poor guy. But again, I'm not making an argument one way or the other. But I can see why some people are like, I don't want to get into that. So I would much rather just let it die
I usually just say
naturally.
the generic thing, and I'm sure they may have asked why. Maybe I skirted my way around that. I don't know, but it was just like, it was a lot of like, how do you really know if you're not giving it a chance? Like, it's just that. And I'm like, dude.
Even sometimes too, like insecurities come out.
Yeah.
Because they'll say something like, was it this?
Yeah.
Was it because I'm not this weight? Or was it because I'm not what you normally date? Or something like that. And it's like, it's going to be, that's not. And even if, here's the worst part, because that's just, let's say, the outside, right? So that's just your external. But what if you just don't like them as a person? Like, are you going to really text? Because that's going to hurt, I'm assuming, a lot more.
I still think you should tell them something. Maybe don't tell them the truth.
I guess my point on that is that for anybody that it does happen to, don't like, or like, let's say if somebody texts you like it's not going to work, your best bet is just to say, thank you, I appreciate your honesty, and that's it. That should be your own reply.
I'm team no reply.
But you know what I'm saying? For that guy, he'll have his closure at that point.
Yeah.
If you text me and you say, hey, sorry, I don't see this going anywhere. You're a really nice guy. I hope I wish you well. It's like, I would reply back, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you. That's it. And that's the last that we'll ever have to.
So should I change my stance on that? Should I reply back and say, thank you, have a good day, or whatever?
If somebody did that to you?
Yeah.
If somebody texted you and messaged you? Yeah. You don't have to reply.
No, I'm saying like, is it bad that I just don't reply? Because it's like I got your message.
At that point, yeah. Once you get to
it's like I don't need to say thanks, have a good life. Like I don't.
Yeah. But I'm just saying if you were going to reply, but you're right, it doesn't warrant it.
Yeah.
It's just if you choose that option because it is an honest thing that they did. And hopefully they're not malicious and it didn't sound like it. So they're not trying to hurt
Do you
my
think
feelings.
the receiver of that would rather you say nothing or say thank you? Do you think one or the other would make them feel worse?
I think I would like her more if she just said thank you for the honesty.
Okay.
I appreciate that because, without sounding cheesy, there really were no hard feelings.
Yeah.
We went out and we gave it a go and there was nothing there. And so, yeah, sometimes I've heard them tell me something like, oh, that's too bad. I really liked you. That sometimes hurts my feelings. But I mean, I'm sure they're struggling with it a lot harder than I am. But still, I'm just kind of like, oh, man, I feel bad now.
Well, I got another thing about that.
But it is the honest thing to do before she goes and gets more invested in.
This is why I think I don't respond. Because in my experience, when I have gotten that text, you've acted the whole time like we're cool. You know what I mean? Like you've been like whining and dining me and we're laughing, we're hanging out, everything's cool. And then
See, I was just talking about the first date, but now we moved into
by date 3, like if I've gotten that text on after date 3 of like, I'm sorry, but I don't think whatever.
Didn't even think about that.
Because it's like if everything is going great for 3 dates, I know the reason why. Because if I didn't comply with your 3-date rule, usually is the case in my experience.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I know what you were wanting and that's it.
Well, maybe, right? Maybe, but therein lies that the human nature. You get curious, and I think that's where people stumble. So you created a theory. It doesn't really matter if it's true or not.
Right. I'm just going to believe it to be true.
Right, but it provides you closure. So you can move on with your life. You don't need to know the absolute truth.
Right. I'm not going to ask you why.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right. You're okay with the reality that you've built, and that's perfectly fine. And it might actually be the true story, but it doesn't matter. So I think if people did that, now you have to be cautious about that, though. I will say this: you have to be cautious about it because once you start building up that. Let's say theory, it can be very difficult to break.
Yeah.
And I've done that too, where I make observations on women and I say, well, if they do this, then it means this, or at least that's my experience. Right. And if they do that, it means, oh, that's what that means. Right. But that might not always necessarily be true because everybody's different. What I will say is that sometimes you will see the majority of the time that's what happens, but just be careful. Like if it happened on the 3rd date, then it had to have meant that.
Well, I don't know. I think it's
because you can become biased after that.
What would be the other reason why you're acting amazing for 3 dates and then you get me that text?
You really want to go down that path? I mean, there's a variety of reasons.
You can give me a Reader's Digest version of why that would be if it wasn't what I think.
It could be that he just got bored. And not necessarily the 3.
But why put on the act?
Because there are dudes that's their MO. And that's the really screwed up. So unfortunately, I'm going to give away a few trade secrets. There's a few guys out there that it doesn't matter who you are. They're going to talk to you like you're in a committed relationship. And that's the weird part. But they do it to everybody. So they don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah.
You see guys that are charmers, right? They walk into a room, they know how to work a room, right? It's like, hey, how you doing, Bob? Haven't seen you in a while. How's Ellen doing? And then he goes on to the next person and he just knows what to say to everybody and how to say it. He can't turn it off. He just can't. He's got to be the same way with his wife. It's like, hey, sweetheart, haven't seen you. So my point being is that those kind of guys, that's just the way they are. They don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It messes with the woman's head, unfortunately, because he's not being genuine. But I would venture that woman probably knew that to a certain degree because, like everybody, a certain amount of romance. And somebody comes along that really knows how to put on a show, so to speak, I can see how people get swept off their feet. And he gives the impression of he's completely interested, but in reality, he's not. And it's just a game for some of those guys. It genuinely is. And sometimes, because it might be a numbers game for those guys, like it's evil. I'm not trying to get into the evil, but it could be that. It could be sometimes, let's say somebody like his previous girlfriend or something came into the picture, like the last minute. And he just figured, you know what? Instead of me telling her, because sometimes that's a way of me like leaving the door open, so to speak. Like I just ghost her. Right. And then we don't ever talk. And then, if it doesn't work out with my girlfriend.
And you'd be like,
hey,
I've been thinking about you for the last couple months.
Yeah. Exactly. Or something like that. You just never know.
Yeah, but do people fall for that though? Be like, I know what you've been doing the last couple of months.
I mean, people tend to lie. I mean, and I've been given a lot of examples of dudes, but
well, like women do it too. So
Yeah.
let's say like I break up with you because there's this other guy that I want to see, right? And I go with that other guy and it's terrible. And after like a month, I come back to you. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the guys are a little more forgiving.
Yeah, they were like, all right, baby. Move your stuff back in.
They won't even question what happened to you in those.
I'm just
in
saying,
that time frame. Like if I didn't hear from you a month, most guys would not be like, "Where have you been?"
Right?
They just been like, "You been good?" And if she says, "Yeah, I've been good," that's the extent.
But as
us.
a woman, it's like I know what you were doing for that month, and now you're trying to go back because the grass wasn't greener, and it's like no.
Guys are oblivious. We don't know any better. And honestly,
you
we
should
don't
teach
even...
a class. You should teach your fellow man how to like just function in normal society with women.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss. You whatever you make up, that's what I'm saying, whatever reality you make up in your head, you got to be careful when you're making up stuff because, something's going to come along and shatter that. But still, sometimes I can see how they, lie to themselves just to get by. Like the truth is a little too painful for them to handle. And it might be like a coping mechanism too for them. You know
Do you think that's another reason why people ghost is because they themselves don't want to feel worse by sending that message? So it's like, let me just pretend that they don't exist. They'll go away rather than having to be, because I'm telling you, sending that text, I know you know too, it doesn't feel good. No. Like it really hurts. Yeah. So like to avoid that personal anguish.
Yeah. And I had to do it. And it broke my heart to do it too. Because we had gone on some really good dates. Yeah. So she had no idea too, but at least she got the message. Yeah. So I could have ghosted, which would have been really bad because then she would have been wondering.
And she just texted you and said, thank you for telling me?
She said, I appreciate your honesty. She threw in that extra, like, I really liked you.
Oh, so here's a guilt trip real quick before I say goodbye for the last time.
Yes. But in all fairness, I know we went out. And that was the other thing. I didn't think I was being particularly anything. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't trying to be extra sweet or anything like that. That's why I didn't think anything was really happening because it was not.
Maybe my scenario, the guy was thinking the same thing you're thinking. Maybe he was like, oh, this is just like a normal date. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, you're really into me.
Yeah, it could have been that. Seriously, because they weren't bad. Yeah. But they weren't. I wouldn't go so far as to say that they were like any of my like top 5 dates. You know what I mean? If there is such a thing.
It's not memorable.
Yeah. No, I mean, they were fun. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't anything, nor I wasn't even trying. You know what I mean? I don't know. I try as much as possible.
Well, maybe
if
they
I'm
just
really
really
into,
liked you.
Yeah, maybe. But that's what I'm just saying. Like I do, if I'm going to put in effort and you will know that I like you versus, I'm just kind of going out with
I don't know if she's delusional enough. She may be like, he was really into me. And
no, but you're right though, because sometimes you do give off a vibe, or you never know how people take things. That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah,
never really thought about that because it is 2 perspectives. You're right.
I mean, So I'm saying how often does that happen? Where it's just like, I don't want to say these things. It's just like when you break up, like. I find it hard to believe that anyone wants to say, I'm sorry, I can't be with you anymore.
It's a hard conversation.
Right. So I'm not saying you could ghost like your serious relationship. Right. I mean, I guess you could, but like you don't want to be the one to have to say it because it's terrible. Yeah. So maybe you try to get them to break up with you. Yeah,
I've heard guys do that before. I've heard of people do that, but that's the long game. And you have to prepare yourself for dark times ahead. Yeah.
It's so much emotional stress. I don't know why anyone would want to do that.
Yeah. It's and again, I think it's cowardice.
Yeah.
I think for me, especially now in the age that I'm at, because I like dating women my age, but irrespective of that, it's the most decent thing that you can do. It provides closure to everybody and you can move on.
Yeah.
You also, and I'm not big on this, but there's a certain amount of karma that will come back around on you.
Yeah.
Okay. It will hit you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you think that, at the same time, I think what
Just thinking about the karma makes me think of like the 90s. You know what I mean? Just like this vibe of like, don't do that.
And I think it comes from the fact of like, again, whether or not you believe in it, it's more of that thing. If that's just how you behave on the normal basis, it's bound to come back at you because you're putting so much of that out in the world. You know what I mean? You can only be a jerk so much before it's going to come back on you and somebody's going to be a real jerk to you.
And even if it's not that, something will click where, you reach a certain point in your life where maybe that's what you think about every time you lay your head down to go to bed.
Yeah.
Is all of your that.
Yeah.
That's torment.
Yeah. The crappy things you do to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will. Yes. Yeah. So your best bet is to behave yourself.
Be nice.
Because even at that, I mean, let's just face it, because whether or not you fear things, it's on a phone. You should at least be able, like you're getting a free pass as far as I'm concerned. People used to have to do it in person.
Get on their horse, ride over to her house.
No, but even like in the 90s, let's say you dated somebody and then all of a sudden you stopped dating and he stopped calling and then you see him at a bar. You know what I'm saying? That used to happen all the time in the 90s. Like, you never called me back. And you're like,
Oh, yeah. I remember that from the movies.
So what? I'm sorry. I'll be back. And then you try to avoid that because, So it used to happen. But yes, I think a conversation is definitely warranted and we should do. That's why I was wondering if people still do that.
I'm trying to think of the last time that I was ghosted. I mean,
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying it happened.
You have to really put in some thought.
It's different.
What is it? What is this different world that you're talking about?
I'm just thinking
because guys get ghosted all the time.
I know, but for women, it's just a little different. But
is it?
Yeah. When I was online dating and the ones that were ghosting me, where I said that like I didn't understand, it was like people that it's like you haven't even met me yet. How do you know you don't like, you haven't even seen me. You have not met me in person.
Right.
You made a date with me over the phone. And then the day of, I never hear back from you. And it's like,
oh, yeah.
Or
that's a horrible
not
ghost.
like I'm like ready, but like,
but still.
like let's say on Monday you make a date for Friday and then you talk a little bit and then it starts getting more sparse. And then by Thursday, he's only texts you like once a day. And then you're like, and I'm like,
dude.
Kind of like, are we still on for Friday or whatever? And sometimes you just may hear nothing.
Wow. Okay. So that's why I get those. So I get those all the time. I get those. And I thought that was weird, especially if we agreed upon a date. So I'm like, okay, let's go out Friday. Let's say we make the plans. We're going to go out Friday. And I'm like, cool, we have a date. Like we're set. And then once we get closer, like on a Thursday or on that Friday, I will get a text message saying, are we still on for this date? And I always find those weird. Like, why are you texting me this? Didn't we say we were going to be on Friday?
Well, what was the
I don't get mad. I'm not mad about it, but it doesn't matter. I've said I was going to be there on Friday. We're on. If I this is why I'm saying with the scenario that you played out, I had no idea that happens.
Yeah.
As frequently as that happens, because I can see where they get gun shy. Like, okay, I've already cleared out my schedule. Now, sometimes I will say this. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Okay. You ready for this one? Sometimes women do that, not because they're afraid you're going to cancel or just not a no-show. They've made plans somewhere else for that night.
Right.
So they agree.
And they don't want to tell you, hey, I made another date.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're kind of testing the waters. And if they don't hear back, they might be like, oh, okay, good. I got off the hook. I don't need to do that. And then if he comes back, sometimes this happens too. And, it happens to me. I'm like, yeah, we're still on. And they're like, can we cancel or can we postpone it or can we move it on? Usually I'm like, sure. You just let me know when, and that'll be the last text that I ever send. And then that's it. And she'll be like, okay, and that's it. And we double ghost.
That's what I'm saying. It's weird. Like,
because we both know in that interaction, even though she didn't say it, I got the hint. Got you. Because if I'm not that important now, and I'm not saying I need to be super important, but clearly you made arrangements with me.
Yeah.
If you're going to break your word at the whim,
yeah.
I'm sorry. And for me, it's a judgment thing.
Yeah, because and the other thing too, like I know stuff comes up from time to time, but if you're really digging someone, you're going to make that date.
Yeah.
You are going to make it happen regardless of whatever comes up, unless it's like
and
a
you're
real
right.
emergency.
If it's a real emergency, I'll take that all day long, right? For sure. I won't judge or whatever. And most of the time, they'll tell you because it's a courtesy. Like, it's really none of your business, but they'll say, like, look, I have a family emergency, which is fair enough, cool, great. And then if I get a text message later on, I'm like, okay, she's not just ghosting me.
Yeah.
Something must have happened.
And then maybe later on she explains, like, this is what happened, you know, and you're like, okay.
But that aside,
okay.
that aside, if they're like, hey, I need to cancel, and they just leave it at that, then I'm like, I got you.
But why not just say the thing that I said, like, you know, you're really nice, but I don't see this going anywhere. Why do the other text instead to still try to leave it kind of open? Is it because she's still maybe not sure?
I don't know. You tell me, man. I don't know what's going on.
I'm pretty direct.
I'm kidding.
I try to be nice, but I'm pretty direct. If it was something like that, I would say what I said earlier.
It makes sense, but I think I guess in their mind, it might be a situation where this is the easiest without a confrontation, right? Which again, like I said, you're right. It's on your phone.
Yeah.
It can't hurt you. Even if somebody messages you back, it might hurt a little bit emotionally, but you'll be fine.
I think it's like selfish to just like ghost somebody in the sense where you guys had plans and then you just that I don't condone that at all.
Yeah.
I think that's terrible.
Yeah.
But if you send me that text and say like this isn't going to work out, I don't look at me not responding to you as like disrespectful.
Yeah.
But like the people who like that guy, he was like, okay, we made a date, and then you kind of ghost me like on Thursday, and it's like, just say it,
No,
bro.
I get it. And thinking about that, I'm going to tell you some horror stories that I've heard.
Oh no.
When I was on dates. Yeah. I've heard this a couple of times where they get to let's say they decide to meet at a restaurant, and the woman will get there first and have a seat, and then he shows up, right? And they're texting each other like, where are you at? And then he goes up there and he'll look at her and then immediately walk away. And I've heard that, and that breaks my heart because that is one of the most horrible things one can do. What
if you locked eyes with that person when they saw you?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure they did lock eyes. So,
oh no, that's even worse.
Now I will play. So on the flip side of that,
okay.
And this is not a justification, but because I've heard guys that have done that, and their rationale is they didn't look anything like their pictures.
Oh, so it's okay because you lied to me.
I guess. You see what I'm saying? But that's an impossible situation. And I don't know to what extent that they didn't look like their pictures, right? Mm-hmm. If it's like, oh, your picture was a redhead, but now you're blonde, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll
I get it. Yeah. For the most part, nobody's going to say like, I'm done. I can't do that.
You're blind.
Right. But like, again, let's say it's an older picture from like 20 years ago or something. You know what I mean? And
20 years ago, you need to get your eyes checked.
Well, you know what I'm saying? But there is that, right? But it's a horrible thing to do either way. But I can see that their rationale is, well, she lied to me, like you said, right? She lied to me and she wasn't honest, so I'm not going to entertain this any further.
But that's like a tit for tat kind of thing. It's stupid. Like just because somebody maybe had lied about their weight or something doesn't warrant you just being like, well, you get whatever. I would have gone on the date.
Yeah.
But then it may have not gone anywhere. Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe he charmed me and I'm like, whoa, like it could happen.
Well, you're more forgiving, I guess.
I don't know if men would do that. I'm talking about like women. Like I would still go on the date.
I would still go through the date, right? I would try to make the most of it. But I would probably also, like you said, it depends on the situation. It's just like, okay, because I can also feel like you lied to me. You really did lie to me. I mean, I'm not going to walk out because that's, like you said, tit for tat, but you did lie to me. And so I have to look at you a little weird now.
Well, I may even ask you about if it's really overt. I may be like, once we've, we're kind of like hanging out or whatever, but like, hey, like, can I ask you, like, why did you do this?
Well, guys do it all the time. They do it on height. They're always finding that they're taller.
That's why
than
you
they
got to get to the
are.
restaurant first. So
Yeah.
you sit in a chair on the stool, so you never
You
have
got to
to
get
stand.
the little lifts on your
Yeah.
your shoes
Are
that
you wearing
make you taller.
platforms?
Yeah. But no, I've taken it from me. I'm a short guy, 5'5". Every inch of that 5'5" I'm going to own, by the way. But I am 5'5".
Yeah.
I don't go around try to boast that I'm 5'7" or 5'10" or any
Right.
of that nonsense. Like, what's the point? They're going to see you.
Right.
And then you got to, what? You're going to try to talk your way out of a lie?
I feel like it would be embarrassing because we both of us at the table know that you
Right.
did this on purpose.
Right. Especially if she's wearing flats. That's a dead giveaway because you
Yeah.
guys might be like, well, I'm wearing heels, so I have to adjust for, but if you guys are wearing flats and you're like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
And she's like 5'3" or she's 5'5", she's like, mm-mm, you're not 5'7", you're not 5'8". Clearly we're dialing together. Poor guy. But that's what I'm saying. So I think just because of that, you can see it in the profiles.
Yeah.
Because they talk about it. Like some women go on to say on their profiles, like, I'm a curvy woman.
Yeah.
So you might not be able to tell in this photo, and maybe they don't want to post a
So they're
body
kind of
pic.
being like half truth.
Well, they're just kind of level setting their expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
if the photo doesn't show that she's a curvy woman, but she puts that in writing, so it's like the guy may not read it, and so he may just.
see, now you're getting into a technicality, but I like where your head's at. I like where your head's at. I like it. Let's explore that for a second.
Okay.
So in that scenario, if they didn't read it, who's responsible? The person that didn't read it, or the person that didn't put a full body pic
I'm gonna
to show?
answer this as like a legal term.
Okay.
You sign this contract. You are consenting to everything in this contract. You cannot say, "Well, I didn't read it," and any judge is going to be like, "Well, okay."
So the contract being, if I message you, then you should
the contract is your profile. Here's all of my information.
know. Right, but when you sign it, that's the contract. But then when I'm signing it, you're saying me messaging you
Yeah, let's
is me
go on a date.
agreeing to the terms
Yes.
and the conditions.
Exactly.
As they have been laid out.
Yes.
That's brilliant. I like that. That is a social contract. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I know what I'm getting myself into. But again, if the contract was not completed in good faith, if it wasn't completed in good faith and they lied, knowingly
Touche.
lied,
Okay.
then I think that the contract becomes null and void at that
How
point.
about people just don't lie and then you don't have to worry about that? Like that's clear, like solved.
We need to get some legal advice on this, and can we
Have
does
a
that-
lawyer write in, let us know.
Yeah, because aren't there some states where if you verbally say something, like it's an agreement?
Yeah.
So obviously you can't do that with dating, but that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm presenting myself this way, and I'm being as honest and upfront as I
Yeah.
am. And then if you decide to message me,
That's what I'm saying. The
got
people that it's
everything.
happened to that I know where they've gone to the restaurant and waited and they either didn't show up, basically they think they saw him and left or whatever. But
Yeah.
I know these people and their photos and their stats were accurate. So this is the other part that I don't understand. You know everything. If I'm looking at you, it's like, okay, here's all your photos and I know your photos look like you. Here's all your stats and I know you haven't lied on anything. Why would I go to the restaurant, see you, and then be like, nah?
yeah.
That's happened. So one friend of mine, he did get stood up at a bar and I think he feels like she came in and saw him and left, but that's not confirmed. But he has a feeling that's probably what happened. But it's like, I know his pictures look like him, so I don't understand that.
Yeah, I will say, pictures are obviously 2D, right?
Yeah.
So you can't really tell profiles unless.
But
he's
if
taking a
you see
profile
him
pic.
across the bar, it's not like you're right here.
Yeah.
Like maybe you come up here and
Yeah.
I
Some
don't-
people are also photogenic. You know what I mean? Like
I am
they're better on pictures than they are in
Yeah.
real life.
which ones I think looking better on photos is worse than you know what I mean?
What do you mean? You would much rather look good in real life
Yes.
than look good in photos?
Yeah, because what are you gonna do? Take a photo and be like, here's what I look like. Don't look at me. Put it over my face.
I don't know, but it also, if there is a contrast, like a deep contrast like that,
Yeah.
that's how they're going to remember you too.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember you as ugly Robbie, would you? No, I'm just saying.
I hope that nickname doesn't stick.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
can see both, but
But that's another form of ghosting.
yeah, no, it's a that's a walkout, man.
It's terrible.
That's a walkout. That's a walkout. And you don't ever want to walk out, whether you're putting on a play. You don't want people to walk out. You're watching a movie. You don't want them walking out on your movie. A performance that you're giving. I'm sorry. You don't want to walk out.
What's a good walkout? Walk it out.
That's the only good one. But yeah, that's got to be devastating. It's never happened to me before. And if it did, but again, I try to be as upfront on all my pictures.
Yeah. It's never happened to me either, but I wouldn't lie. It may not be exactly what they pictured, but it's like your height, your weight, your face structure, like those things. It's like, as long as you're not lying about that, it's like, well, I didn't lie. Maybe this was a really good photo of me, but like,
I think sometimes
the
the guy might think, because here's the other thing too. And I'll just say this last bit. When you do have multiple pictures, I would recommend that you don't try to filter them all. So if you have like a real picture of yourself and you're in different settings, you'll see different shades of light and how they reflect. And then you get a bit of a more, because I've seen that where some of them, like, they're super like cute and everything's looks airbrushed and, you know, it's perfect. The lips are there, the makeup,
the bunny ears didn't throw you off.
Well, and then you go down and you'll see another one where they're like, maybe they're out on a beach or at a festival and they don't look like that. They still, there's obviously kind of the same, but now she's in a setting where it's a little hotter. Okay. Makeup might not be as pristine.
Okay.
And so you want to give those different, as many as you can. It's like, here's
what
me
would be the
clothes,
point of blurring anything at all, though? Because if you do get together, you're not going to see someone in real life blurred. So what would be the point?
You know, I have no earthly idea why they would do that. I'm assuming they just really enjoy the pictures. Sometimes that happens. Like, this is a really good picture of me. This is what I want to post because that is me in the picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of edits and stuff, but you know, that is me.
I like to put like a little bit softness, you know what I mean, to the photo, or maybe do like portrait mode where like it fades out the back. Like
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But so let me see here. Where are my notes at? I don't have my notes. I was looking at it. I couldn't find it. Sorry. Oh, never mind. I have notes.
They ghosted. Your ghost notes ghosted.
Anyway, sorry.
That's freaky.
That is freaky because I was writing it down just a minute ago. Sorry. But yeah, I don't think people ghost anymore. I would be surprised if they still do.
I'm not for it unless the message is already received. Like I said, if you send me that and you're like, no, I'm okay with ghosting a response to you.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, and you don't even know if it's a lie. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
I was
off.
just saying, like, or if I was like betrayed horribly by a boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm out. And I'll be a ghost. You'll never hear from me.
Ever. That's it. They're dead to you. I get it.
What's the point? Like, if you did something that I feel is terrible or wrong or whatever.
So then that's when a ghost is warranted.
In my opinion.
You know what? I didn't even consider that one as a valid. But you're right. If somebody betrayed you in some form or manner, or they did you dirty, if you will. Yeah, I think you can. You know that?
You remember that movie, Nocturnal Animals, right? Jake Gyllenhaal and Amy Adams or whatever, and she goes and she gets the abortion, and he's standing in the rain, and he sees her with her new, rich boyfriend, and she just aborted his baby. Yeah. I think that warrants a ghost.
That's very dark.
I'm just saying that, like, if you betray me, there's no words need to be spoken. Yeah, it's like message is clear.
That's pretty overt there for sure.
Okay. So like if you caught something on your girlfriend's phone that was very clear that it was, then it's
but sometimes it's not quite as clear. If somebody cancels on you, like, again, it could be a genuine reason.
No, I'm talking about in a relationship.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about a relationship. Okay. Like, if you do something like that, if I was at your house and let's say your phone was out and I look at it and let's say a text exchange pops up between you and another female, it's very clear. I'm getting my stuff. I'm leaving. I don't need an explanation. It's right there.
It is, but should you at least let them know that it happened? Because what if he doesn't know? Like he was in the bathroom and then he came out and he's like, where'd Robbie
I guess
go?
maybe I would be like, oh, you need to check your phone. And then maybe I'd walk out.
Okay, yeah. Because that'd be easy. Because if not, you're just gone. And I'd be like, what?
Or
She's
you know
missing.
what? Ooh, another
Gotta
one.
send
Like
out an
if I
Amber Alert or
like caught
something on
you
the ring.
somewhere or something. Or let's say that a friend of mine is out somewhere and she spots my husband, right?
Ooh.
Or boyfriend. I can't say
But
husband.
can we trust her though? Can we trust
She
her?
takes a photo of my boyfriend on a date. She sends it to me. When I see that dude, I would just hold up the picture like this. What more do you need to know?
Well, hopefully it's a vertical. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do
I'll position it. I'll Photoshop
Wait.
it. I'll make it look
And
real
better,
nice.
I better be clear because if
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you trying to show me, honey? Because I don't understand.
Oh, don't play dumb. But yeah, I mean, like what I would be totally fine with ghosting you after that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
And I have.
And you wouldn't, and that's bold because you don't need to, you could have just sent them a message. Like, I know what you've been doing. But you want to be upfront and be like,
I would either do it in person
Very
or I
dramatic.
would just send you the photo maybe and then never respond to any text or call
yeah,
ever
for
again.
sure. But I like your flair for
I'm the
drama.
ghost
'Cause you're
queen.
like,
I'm like,
don't say anything. Just look at this and know that this is the last time you'll ever see me on this. And so, yeah, I get it. I love that because I'm just like, oh, gosh.
I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just different in that sense because I understand that's probably really difficult for people not to get explanations maybe.
Like why? Why
yeah,
are you doing
like,
that?
you
Or
wanna
what's going
know-
on? How could you do this to
Yeah,
me?
but there's something in it. The betrayal for me is it cuts so deep that it doesn't matter what your reasons are.
Yeah.
You lied, you cheated, you whatever. It doesn't matter.
You know what's weird about that whole scenario is that they've been lying to you. So now you're asking them to tell the truth, but they don't tell the truth. So anything that they tell you,
Right.
you're not going to believe.
Right. Good point.
You've already have the baseline. You're a liar.
Yeah.
Why would you want to ask them to be truthful all of a sudden?
'Cause you
And
know
would
you're not
trust
gonna-
them? Right.
you're not
I'm going to
gonna
trust
get
you
the
for this
truth.
one little. This is the only time I'm going to trust that you're telling me the truth. So tell me the truth now.
I think that anyone
been
who's
lying to
ever
you.
cheated, even if you come out with some details, you're never going to give all the details. And some details are going to be skewed a little bit. You're never just going to point blank say every horrible thing. You're not.
They're cheaters. They don't have the guts to break up with you. They just much rather cheat.
So would
Again-
you ghost a woman under those circumstances? Like if there was no question, it's very clear. Would you still want answers? Or would you just be like,
When it first happened, yes.
okay.
And then, yeah, I don't ask for it anymore. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I don't ask. Because again, I know you're lying. So there's
Yeah.
nothing that you can tell me that I'm going to believe.
Yeah.
So there's really no point. And I can make up whatever story I want to because what difference does it make at this point?
Right.
I can't trust you.
At that point, you're just trying to protect yourself, like
Yeah.
your own feelings and sanity.
I can't trust you.
Yeah.
And if you can't trust somebody, then you can't. I think people sometimes, because I get it, because people are like, well, you want to give people second chances, you mess up. Fair enough. But that's got to be earned. I'm just not going to give it right back to you, like immediately. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, there's-
Like if I stole your purse and then you caught me and they're like, okay, here you go. And then I'm going to steal it again. Like, come on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
okay, don't do it again. But, no, sorry.
It'd be weird. I'm just envisioning you stealing my purse and like walking out the door.
Yeah, no. Again, you've already broken any credibility that you had,
Right.
so there's really no point. But I get it that also people they require closure.
I think that the ghosting may be okay if you're not really intentionally doing it to hurt someone per se. It's not super malicious. It's just something that you have to do for yourself. Like the betrayal thing. It's like for my own emotional whatever, I just need to cut this. I don't need to hear anything. I'm being for me now. Right. But I think if you're maliciously doing it, like just being a jerk, no.
I will say this, and you can kind of see it coming. People can disagree with me or not. It's fine. But you can see it through your text. I've told you that many, many a times. That's how I gauge whether or not a woman is interested in me. It's not the only indicator, but you can tell because some people don't like to message. They just don't. But at the same time, if you're getting a lot of one-word replies, chances are she's just not that interested in you. You know what I mean? Like you can continue going down. Maybe
is that like
she's
lightly
busy.
ghosting?
It is. It's almost like trying to ease your way out of it because ghosting just stops. They just don't reply at all. But it also, and it's hard, right? Because sometimes you get in a meeting or you're in a situation where you can't have your phone, right? Like when we have this podcast, we don't have our phones on.
Right.
So if you can't, but it can't be all the time that they take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to reply. If they're doing that, trust me,
maybe they're really busy.
They might be. But again, you have to understand it from the other person's point of view.
Yeah.
What can they be thinking if you're just sending that?
And it's different now.
You might think it's fine, but
it's different now too, because before, like when cell phones were fairly new, you couldn't have them out on your desk.
Right.
You just couldn't. It was like, even I remember even
people
being an adult.
Videos in their desk.
Yeah, exactly. That was not allowed. It was like one of my first like corporate jobs was like, you can't have your cell phone on your desk. It has to be hidden all the time. I was like, okay. And now we're to the point where people will just take phone calls while they're working and
watch videos. They watch videos. Yeah. It always makes me laugh. Like hopefully they're watching this video.
Yeah.
Except for this one. I think this one is approved by all the unions and all the private companies. They all endorse. So you're good here. But they watch videos. And it is something that I'm like, huh.
I can't imagine someone sitting at their desk working, watching us. Like just, I don't know, talk about like.
That'd be surreal for you?
Yeah, it'd be weird.
But yeah, I mean, technology has gone a long way. But even now, there's still, where we try to avoid any confrontation sometimes. And ghosting is the perfect way of doing it. Because you have to think that eventually they'll get the hint. Now, again, a lot of times when you get ghosted, the other person goes berserker. And that's when they start blowing up your phone. That can get scary.
Yes, it can.
Because you just see all of theirs and they're just going on rants and you can't treat people like this and I can't believe people like you exist. And clearly something's going on with them.
Yeah.
And then you just happen to be the outlet because they're just going off. And,
it's so scary.
Yeah, and I've heard guys do that quite a bit. Like you said, women don't get ghosted a lot. I mean, I've done it a couple of times. Don't get me wrong. I'm not proud of it, but it does happen.
Were you doing it for their feelings or for yours? Do you know?
For me, and this is me projecting, of course, is we went on the date together. I didn't feel anything, so I'm just assuming she didn't feel anything either. And the fact that she's not really reaching out to me and I'm not reaching out to her tells me what I need to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you don't feel bad about it. It's just like, okay.
Yeah. But if let's say she did initiate it, because that's the other thing too for, like you said, you play that game of chicken.
Right.
But I know, let's say she did initiate it afterwards. If I really am not interested, that's when I'd be like, hey, just FYI, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I don't think this is, I didn't feel the spark. I've said that. I'm going to take yours from here on in, by the way, because I really like how you worded that. But yeah, I've told him, sorry, it's not. And then other times I've ghosted. But again, for me, it was more like, meh, the feeling has to be mutual. There's no way that she was into me. But you're right. I should.
All it took was a slight noise, and you're like, you know what?
But you know how guys are. We can't even tell when you guys like us.
That's true.
We have no earthly idea when girls like us. Seriously. And even, I don't know if it's our insecurity. Even when a woman says that she likes you, you're like, nah. There's no way. You're whatever.
For reals.
Yeah, whatever. This is a long game. You're going to torture me and then you're just going to drop me but seriously, sometimes, and we can't help it. Sometimes we just have to flat out ask. It does take a lot of the charm away. I will say that, but it gets straight to the point, right? There's a way of doing it, but you guys have no idea how hard it is on us guys when we're crazy about y'all. And then you don't know whether or not she reciprocates. It's torture. It's absolute torture. It's so bad. It's so bad.
If people would just start being honest about their feelings up front, we would eliminate a lot of that anxiety.
I think so. But there's for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's just because we're trying to, as a society, not be mean and hurt people's feelings. But you're right. Too much of that is not good. Yeah. Because you're kind of taking out the honesty part of it. Yeah. Right? Because truth is everything, right? there's a truth, and then there's a truth, and then there's the truth.
The hard truth is like a Band-Aid. You rip it off. Sometimes it sucks right then, but it's probably better for you.
Yes. And in the long run, it is going to be, because to your point, if you entertain it longer than it should have, you've invested all that emotion, all that time. You could have been doing something better. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, just as a common courtesy, let them know where you stand. You know what I mean? And don't lead them on, because sometimes, and both men and women do it as a game. They just lead them on.
Yeah.
Like, let's say they're dating multiple people, and let's say they're just like playing the game, and they're like, I'm just keeping her on the hook long enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just interested enough because I can't devote too much time to her. I'm working on these two over here, and that happens. It happens. In my experience, it doesn't work out. And usually, like, everybody's going to end up in tears. But yeah, I think a certain amount of honesty. Again, there has to be a little bit of mystery. So we can't take that away. See, I'm an old guy. I remember when I was younger, I would look at these old romantic guys and thought, you guys are so corny. Like, you guys are the corniest dudes I know. And then I catch myself doing it, and it works. It works. Like, I'm just like, freaking old dudes, man. Like, old dudes knew what they were doing. You know what I'm talking about? Like, the old they're always hitting on a woman, and they're complimenting her on, not
I love
not
you more than
perverse,
all the stars
right?
in the sky.
It's like, where has God been hiding you? And you know what I mean? Like, they say these things, and
they write you a song.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, they know how to bring the romance back to it. And even if the woman isn't interested, he's still going to make her laugh. Yeah. He still has that charm. And eventually there will be a woman that'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
But my point is that I think, and I don't know how it is for young women or even older women, but what I will say is my observation for older women is they enjoy the romance. They like that. It's not corny. It's sweet. I can see how a younger person, maybe a younger woman, might see that as like, oh, this dude's corny. Like, nobody talks like that. And I get that. Maybe it's a generational thing.
It's like you said before, like, younger people, they're so focused on trying to be cool that, like, they don't let that be what it is. When you get older and you start to not care about stuff anymore, then you see it more for like, oh, this is really cute. This is really sweet. But everyone in their 20s is trying to be too cool. They're like,
they are. And like, I will even say this much, right? Because they use certain terminologies, right? And certain phrases that we don't use. I don't use. Like, and don't get me wrong, I used to use some of these. Don't get me wrong. But like, again, like, if you like, what's up, ma? Or, you fired today, whatever that little phrase is, eventually those go away. Like, you don't, because it sounds too much like that. It doesn't feel genuine.
Okay.
It does when you're
like
young,
forced.
because that's your generation.
Right.
But now that you're older, you can use proper English.
That's why our parents say like groovy and stuff. And you're like,
Right. But they also understand and appreciate, beautiful words. That's the only way I can really think about it, right? There are beautiful words out there that you can use and be very charming. And it's just, especially if it's something that they don't use anymore. Like, you bring that back because you're trying to be romantic. And I think women appreciate that more than anything. They're like, oh, okay. Because again, it could be, you can be, in the dating world, times you can be very cynical. And I've dated some women that they're like, I don't care about romance. All these guys, they just want, whatever. They want me to take care. And they've kind of like, and I think you need that romance.
I'm going to reveal something because it just made me think of, I guess, some bad advice I had given you one time.
Uh-oh.
So, because I thought it was really sweet when guys bring like a single flower on the first date, and it totally flopped on you. And I'm sorry for that, but like, I guess there's women that don't want to be romance.
So, okay, that one was different. That one was different because you brought in a prop. Props are hard. So that's going to be another topic.
Okay.
Yes, but no, I think we can explore it a little bit. But props are different.
Okay.
Props are different. You have to, it's either a hit or a miss. Okay. There is no in between.
Still, I gave you, I'm sorry.
There's just no in between.
Yeah.
You have to, it's a hit or a miss, man. It's a hit. So, and flowers are a prop. And you don't know enough. I think if you were to do that while you're dating, you're going to hit. Every single time you're going to hit the mark.
If she's that type of girl.
Well, even if she's not, she's going to appreciate it because let's just say for the sake of argument, I start dating a woman and I bring her a rose and she's like, oh, it's really sweet. But just FYI, like my favorite is a tulip. And I'm like, got that. got that. So from here on in, I know that her favorite flower is a tulip. So when I do bring her a tulip, A, it's going to show you've been paying attention, and B, it's a sweet gesture because she has a favorite flower. If she were to say, I'm allergic to all flowers, of course.
This could kill me.
Well, for me, this is just my romantic mind. I would get her a fake one, a silk one or something. It's like you can't enjoy, but here's a flower anyways. My point being is that has to be established. From the get-go, it's too much. And even the romanticizing, you have to be careful. You can't start out. You can't come in that hot. You have to ease your way into that because again, it's still starting out and you have to feel your way around. So you can't completely. I think
if you really like that guy, it's going to be a hit every time, even on the first time. If you see that guy and you're like, wow, and then he has a rose.
Yeah. Well, then the prop actually works because she's going to think about you every time she sees it, which is a good thing.
Even if you're not the type of girl that really appreciates that. If you are extremely attracted or you really like this guy, it's going to take
that. And he's, you have good conversation and you're jiving and there's chemistry there and there's laughter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if she likes a rose or not. You're
going to keep that rose. It's going to be all dried up in a box somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's the romance. Yeah. And that's that I think, and don't get me wrong, I know I'm an old romantic, but I think it's gone away. I think it's sometimes a little too sterile. And I don't understand why we've gotten to that. I just don't.
We should do an episode on romance.
We should. Well, I thought most of the time we're talking about romance, but yeah, I think because a lot of times, and you see it even on the profiles, they're very straightforward, and I get it. You're putting yourself out there and you're being very upfront. Sometimes it's easier to just find these things out naturally. Yeah. You don't need to put everything. You have to have a little bit of mystery, a little bit of romance, and I think a lot of people would benefit from that. But nowadays it's all about numbers and it's all about, technology. It's like, I text them and I see they're on their phone, they haven't texted me back, so like screw that. And again, you don't really know, you make assumptions, and I don't know, it just seems too sterile for me to have that sort of thing. Yeah. Something about getting to know one another and spending time and like genuinely investing in that. And I get it, right? In this day and age, women have a lot of options. Not always the best options, I'm assuming, right? Because there's a lot of single women out there. So
yeah, there's a lot of frogs out there.
Yeah, but you have more options, right? But I would say, if I could give any advice to a woman,
let's hear it.
And I have to be very, very careful, but I would say if you find a decent guy, that you're attracted to, that's not bad, you should invest your time in that guy to see where it goes. Like genuinely give it a shot, because I get it. There's going to be a better looking guy that hits you up, but you guys might not get along. Yeah. You guys might be opposite in all the wrong ways, right?
Yeah.
And so,
there's not a whole lot of decent dudes, so you don't want to pass them up without trying when you do come across one.
Right. Right. And guys, again, the romance, guys need to be better at it. Don't get me wrong. But this was about ghosting, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that there's a lot of different forms of ghosting and different stages of your relationship of ghosting. And
and one thing's for sure, if you ghost, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work out.
Never know.
But I think, and there's been situations where they're genuine. I have that happen where they're like, hey, I'm going through a rough patch right now, but would it be okay if I message you back at a later time or give it a few weeks or whatever? It's rough. Yeah, hit me up. Maybe they forget about you, so it might not be intentionally ghosting, but at least they were like, okay, you go off and do your thing and then we'll revisit it. But yeah, there's many different ways. Sorry, I don't know why that last scenario came up. But appreciate the conversation.
You too.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.